Hey everybody, it's GombletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another Premier Draft of Phyrexia, All Will Be One. Without further ado, let's get into the pack. Very sweet removal spell in white here at Uncommon, the Ossification. This will probably be the pick, just a 2-mana way to exile any creature or planeswalker, pretty much permanently. Not often do you see a lot of main deck enchantment removal in the format. Very rarely, sometimes you'll play against a green deck, they might have a Canker Bloom or something to blow it up, but I don't think I've ever had an Ossification blown up on me before so far in the format. It's pretty infrequent, so basically just 2 mana, exile anything forever, which is a very, very good deal. Take the Ossification here, but there's definitely other options. Chimney Rabble, phenomenal red card, huge overperformer, just does so much more work than it looks like, being able to play the aggressive and the defensive very well. Furnace Strider, quite similar. Ruthless Predation, fine green removal spell. We'll definitely go for the Ossification there. And this draft is going to be pretty simple for us for now. If we can just take a second Ossification, then we will. All that we know for sure is that we're going to be playing white. Could be white-black or white-green Toxic, white-red Equipment, white-blue Artifacts, anything like that, because Ossification fits snugly into any white deck. Pretty easy pick here. Rot Priest is probably the strongest card in the pack, but it's also the most restrictive by far. And there's like Raptors, a fine monocolored card. Kind of a weak pack. These are the only 3 cards I'm that interested in. Pretty easy Ossification. Alright, pack 1, pick 3. Not in love with any of these cards. I think the strongest card is probably Gitaxian Raptor, but I don't really like Gitaxian Raptor in blue-white because the blue-white decks are so focused on artifact aggro stuff that the Raptor just doesn't really fit. When at 3 mana you have a bunch of Eye of Malkators, potentially some of the 3 mana Gold Warden's Helm, the equipment, and some of the 3 mana 2/3 that turns one of your artifacts into 4/4s. I'd probably still take this Raptor, but if I end up in blue-white, this is a card that I don't even want. I think we just take the Raptor because it's the strongest card in the pack. But we're probably not going to play the Raptor unless we get cut off of white and then end up in some other blue deck. Alright. Pack 1, pick 4, we see a Bladehold Warwhip. That gives me a pretty clear direction to potentially go with our white deck here. Yeah, not much competing with it. It's basically just a Warwhip. Charge the Mites is okay. Hazardous Blast is solid. Bunch of okay stuff in a Bladehold Warwhip, so we'll take the Bladehold Warwhip. Pack 1, pick 5. Alright, I'll take the Malkator's Watcher this time for a potential blue-white artifact stack. The 3-drop slot is very competitive, even in like red-white equipment, and even though Lean and Lightbringer very clearly tells you play me in an equipment deck, it doesn't give you a big enough incentive or a big enough bonus to make it that good in the equipment deck. Because a 3-mana 3/2, even if it had like just full-on hexproof, would just not be a very good card, so a 3-mana 3/2 ward 2, pretty much unplayable. Had the ability to give it +1/+1 when it's equipped, just not that big of a bonus. It's not really, it's like a 23rd playable in the equipment decks. I don't take it very highly, so we'll take Malkator's Watcher. Potential blue-white artifact stuff. Alright, pack 1, pick 6. Love taking the 1-drops highly, the playable 1-drops in this format. And Swooping Lookout is very good for blue-white artifacts or red-white equipment. Not that exciting in black-white or white-green. But it's an artifact creature for the blue-white deck, and it can wield equipment very well in the red-white deck, so we're going to take it here. Even if we don't have any synergies with it, just a 1-mana 1/2 with Flying and Vigilance can keep chipping in for damage. Most importantly, having 2 toughness on a 1-mana card is just really nice. It can block the Crawling Choruses and Phyrexian Mites of the world, block the Phyrexian Goblins of the world, everything like that. So love the Swooping Lookout. And here I love the Chimney Rabble. I have spoken this card's praises ever since draft number 4 or 5 or something, when I heard a bunch of great things about Rabble, started seeing it performing really well in 17 lands, and decided to try it myself. As soon as I played Chimney Rabble in like 1 or 2 decks, I just immediately was in love with it. I was like, okay, no, that plays really, really well. Slam it on the board, haste in for some damage. You're still leaving up a blocker, so you've got defenses. That 1/1 goes a very far way. Pick 8, full of pretty much unplayable cards. Thrill of Possibility is again a 23rd playable kind of really filler thing, as is the Enforcer. Sinew Dancer, pretty much unplayable unless you are constantly corrupting your opponent, which we're not going to be here. We're going to be red-white or blue-white. Just take a Terramorphic Expanse just in case we open up some incredible off-color rare that we're going to try to splash. Used to love Quicksilver Fisher. During the early access event, I drafted more copies of this card in like 3 drafts than I ever drafted from that point on, because I learned very quickly that this format is way too aggressive for a 5-mana creature with 3 toughness. As good as its high power evasive body is, as good as its enter the battlefield effect is, it's just not enough in a format this aggressive. Inquiry could be playable if we end up black-white toxic. That still feels pretty unlikely, but speculate towards that. Take some filler stuff that we hope doesn't end up in the deck. We could absolutely play a Hazardous Blast. And we'll see what we open up for pack 2. Alright, well... Oh, wow, that is rough. Okay, well... Against All Odds is solid in the red-white deck, like it's fine. Not really something I want to take pack 2 pick 1. So I don't really have an excuse not to speculate on the Miglaws here. The thing that I really don't like about that is I feel like it's probably a 5% or less chance of getting played, because we would have to swap into red-green here, where we would have Chimney Rabble, Hazardous Blast, and Miglaws as our only cards for now, unless we're going to do some crazy splashing things. The other problem is we're passing a Cinder Slash Ravager, so we're giving the people on our right great red-green incentives, and then pack 3 we're just not going to get any red-green cards. So I don't think this pick is likely to work out that well, but at the same time, I don't think Against All Odds is a good enough card to really justify not being a bit speculative there. Take an Ossification now, number 3. Be very committed to white? Or do I take the Batter Fist? Just take the red card because that ends up in our deck if we're in red-white or red-green. Again, I don't feel like I'm actively seeking out the red-green deck here. I mean, if anything, maybe we're just playing a Forest, a Terramorphic Expanse, and we pick up some Dune Movers. You know, maybe that's where it's at. I'm just going to take a 3rd Ossification here. And now an Annex Sentry. Wow, yeah, we're going to have some premium white cards in this deck. Scoop that up, slam dunk it in the deck. It's basically a miniature Ossification, but it comes with a creature, which is huge. Pack 2, pick 4. Mirren Bardiche is a fine filler card for the top end of the curve. The Cackler doesn't really do anything in red-white, and it's not even that exciting in red-green. Just take the Bardiche. Alright, Furnace Strider, happy to take that. Pretty nice card to have at the top end of the curve. We could also take the Bladegraft Aspirant, very clearly designed for the red-white equipment archetype. But even then, it's not the most exciting card either. It's definitely better than the 3-2 with Ward 2. But I don't ever find it all that necessary in the archetype. 2 3-mana creatures right now. We do already have a 5-drop here. I don't think I can justify Aspirant over Furnace Strider. Furnace Strider is just such a good finisher, such a good card at just ending games. Hitting the board with haste and 4 power there. 5 toughness is huge as well. Basically forcing double blocks to kill it. Blocks and attacks incredibly well. Now we'll go ahead and take the Barbed Batterfist. We definitely need some more early game creatures here. In this format, you want a ton. You want probably like 8 plus cards at 2 mana or less that are creatures that immediately impact the board. Barbed Batterfist definitely fills that category. It plays really well with our Swooping Lookout as well. Pack 2, pick 7. Not a deck that can profit off of Complete Devotion very well. That being said, I don't think we're going to play a second copy of Hazardous Blast, but that's the only playable card for us unless I want to try to splash a Cephalopod Sentry. Definitely don't want to try to splash the 7 mana card. That's a bit sketchy in a format this aggressive. I'll just take another Hazardous Blast. Okay. I guess for now we don't have a full deck, so we should play some of these more mediocre filler cards that are on color, and for the same reason take an Enforcer here. I guess I could go Prism. I'm really not going to end up playing 2 Orthodoxy Enforcers, so I'll take a Prism so that if push comes to shove and we have to splash in the Miglaws, it's a little bit easier, but I really, as I said before, do not want to end up in that position. Another Terramorphic for Miglaws, or Blazing Crescendo is an okay combat trick. I don't know if we're going to have room for combat tricks. Like, we're going to run triple Ossification, double Hazardous Blast, probably. I don't know. I'm going to take another Terramorphic there. That could be wrong, though. Alright, easy Barbed Batterfist number 2. Much better card than Gold Warden's Helm, and Gold Warden's Helm is even a card that I'm happy to have in these kind of decks. Batterfist is just a quicker card than the Helm, and it's more impactful when you move it around. Giving a creature +0, +1 doesn't matter as much as +1, -1, where you can make your 2 power creatures all of a sudden trade up into 3 toughness cards. All that kind of stuff. Alright, I'm very happy with how this deck is looking. We are going to get a Lightbringer last pick. Act 3, pick 1 now. Probably take Atrax's Skitterfang. This is very much showing off. One of the problems that I have with these kind of decks is that, again, I guess just a lot of decks in this format, you do like clump up at 3 mana. You get a lot of great 3 mana things to do, when this is a format where you really want to curve out with 1s and 2s. So do I take Incisor Glider? I mean, that wields a Batterfist very well in the sky. We're never going to corrupt our opponent, but still just putting an equipment onto a flying creature is nice. There's also Shrapnel Slinger. Very nice to just have access to artifact removal in the main deck for the few games where it does come into play. I feel like Skitterfang's such a strong card, I'm going to take it over those 2. But it does feel pretty bad to take the 3-drop creature over the 2-drops when I only have 3 cards that cost 2 mana or less. Definitely take a Hex Gold Slash here. This helps a lot with early game plays, because if our opponent is starting off with some great little aggressive creatures, we can always just Hex Gold Slash one of them. And that kind of feels like having another 2 or 1 drop to help out there. Take another Chimney Rabble here over Scamp and Sinew Dancer. I guess I could take Dune Mover for another 2-drop. This one also lets me play that Miglaws more easily, but I'm pretty sure I'm trying not to splash Miglaws. We drop the Prism as well. Chimney Rabble's much better than these 1-drops, and Dune Mover's only going to be good if we're splashing in the green. I'm just going to sit here and just keep mentioning how much I need to be drafting 1 and 2 mana cards, and then just keep not doing it, because I'm very picky. Going to be a very picky eater in this draft pod. I'm just going to ignore all the 1s and 2s. I guess I might take a Sinew Dancer at this point. It's going to be pretty bad in here, but it's probably better than a 6th 3-mana creature, even though Furnace Punisher is quite a bit better than like Lightbringer. The Evasiveness just goes a long way. I don't know, I guess I'll still take that. Yeah, alright. I'm going to have some self-imposed issues here. Had opportunities to take 2-drops, but they were in packs with Chimney Rabbles and Hex Gold Slashes, and that's really hard to do. I guess if this Skitterfang were a Shrapnel Slinger, at this point that would probably be a better looking deck. Gold Warden's Helm here. Yeah, we are going to get punished hard. There's just no 2-mana cards for the rest of the pack. Well, that could be a problem. Well, we wield 1 Shrapnel Slinger. That will help us a lot. Can we wheel the other one? That would be incredible. Okay, no. I think it was in that pack, so I don't think we wheeled it. But now we have 4 creatures we can play, turn 2 or sooner, a Hex Gold Slash and triple Ossification that we can use as removal on turn 2 or sooner. the Hex Gold Slash and Triple Ossification are going to go a long way here to giving us early game plays. Alright, we got a Scamp back. There we go. It's now 5 creatures that cost 2 or less. Almost definitely, yeah, should have taken a 2-drop over Skitterfang here. But overall, ending up with a very powerful looking deck today. Pretty happy about this one. We'll drop a Skull Bomb, drop one of these Hazardous Blasts, drop a couple of our more filler creatures, probably one of the 3 mana creatures, like the Lightbringer here, maybe one of the 5 mana creatures. I could got like a 3 mana creature and a land, or just 2 of the creatures. I think with this amount of, well, how much equipment do I have? I don't actually have that much. Still have 5 equipment. They have great equip abilities to use later in the game, move them around to other creatures, so we do have things to dump all of our mana into later on. I think we can still go 17 lands here, especially if we keep 3 5-mana plays. Maybe drop the Orthodoxy Enforcer, one of the least consistent creatures. Like pretty much every other creature in the deck better. I like all of the 4-mana equipment, I like the Ossifications, the Hex Gold Slash. Crescendo's just okay. But really it's like Crescendo versus Enforcer as the last cut. And when you look at our creature count including our equipment, got a very high creature count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Pretty much perfect, so we'll just cut the 18th creature, keep the Blazing Crescendo in, check our mana base. 14 red cards and 9 white, so 1 more Mountains and Plains, sure, sounds good to me. Yeah, call it a deck there. Here's a final look at today's deck, another red-white equipment deck. Just a pretty aggressive deck in general. The biggest flaw that I can see happening with this deck is we have a little bit too few early game plays. We do have some great cheap removal to make up for that, so usually I would like to have about 5 or 6 2-drops to go with my 2 1-mana plays here, but we only have 3 of them here, so we have a total of 5 creatures that we can play turn 2 or sooner. Definitely a bit low for this format. Pretty solid for an average format, but definitely low for this one. One of the most aggressive formats of all time, and the most aggressive format that we have the data for on Arena. So to make up for the lack of early game creatures, we do have a Hex Gold Slash and 3 copies of Ossification, so tons of cheap removal in this deck to help us out there. And once we get to 3 mana and up, we are just off to the races. It's all the great stuff you want in these archetypes. Annex Sentry as a removal spell and a creature all in one, Gold Warden's Helm for a creature and an equipment, Bladegraft Aspirant to reduce the costs of our equipment and their abilities if we're targeting the aspirant, some Furnace Punishers for just beefy, evasive threats with that menace, Bladehold Warwhip, just an incredibly good rate, very nice double striking creature that can then move that equipment around later in the game, turn any of your creatures into a really massive threat. Atrax's Skitterfang, an excellent flexible creature on attacks, can help you race your opponent with lifelink, can help you get extra damage in with flying, can help you hold up blockers with vigilance, whatever you need to do. Then we've got 2 Chimney Rabbles, another excellent card that plays the offensive and defensive well by hitting the board, slamming in for 3 and holding up a 1/1 at the same time, or if you're really on the defensive, it's a 4-mana card that spits 2 blockers out off of 1 card, a 3/3 and a 1/1. Either way, Chimney Rabble, great deal in the format. And then we have at the top end, Mirren Bardiche that turns any creature we equip into a large vigilant threat to get in the late game. Basilica Shepherd that can end some games with its evasive flying just body, and gives us some mites to put some of those other equipment onto. And a Furnace Strider to just hit the board and try to haste in for the last few points of damage. Last but not least, we also do have 1 copy of Hazardous Blast here, and with this we can deal 1 damage to all of our opponent's creatures to kill their mites and their 3/1s and anything like that, and find a kill in a board stall style game. So very solid, very consistent red-white deck today. A little low on early game plays, that is going to be the big flaw, but outside of that, some great stuff, and I'm excited to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are for game 1. Kind of a risky hand here. If we don't draw land, we can't play anything. And this also does show off the flaw in our deck, a lack of 1 and 2 mana plays. Not doing anything turn 1 or 2. Ideally, if our opponent plays something cheap, we can crescendo their card to get another chance to hit a land. If I hit 1 land, I've got plenty of plays. I'm gonna keep it, but it could definitely pan out pretty poorly for us. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we can target their creature with our Blazing Crescendo, just to draw an extra card, try to hit a land off of that. Push comes to shove. Luckily, we do immediately hit the land, so we will be playing cards starting on turn 3. Here's a Copper Longlegs from our opponent. Drop a 1/3 Spider on the board. Let's drop our 3/3 Menace first. Just hits the hardest. It should be pretty sweet. And I don't have any equipment to reduce the costs of with the Aspirant. Cutthroat Centurion is their second place. They're green-black. Just kind of good stuff so far. They're green-black, but we have seen no kind of toxic creatures. 2 cards that could proliferate, though, so could definitely be the toxic strategy. What happens to Chimney Rebel if I attack and it trades into a Longlegs? It's not great, because they'd block it with Centurion and sacrifice the Longlegs. Or they could just double block, but then I can put the 3 damage on the Centurion, and then again, they could just sack the Longlegs to Centurion. I don't love that, especially when I have a Crescendo coming up that I could use as a trick. I think I'll just attack with the Punisher. I guess the Punisher also just trades into one of these. Because they just double block. I can do 3 damage to Longlegs, die to Centurion, or 3 to Centurion. They sack the Longlegs, then it's just kills Punisher. Yeah, they actually just straight up have good blocks here. Alright, I'm going to go for the Aspirant. I'm going to do that because it's going to allow me to play Gold Warden's Helm and Blazing Crescendo next turn, so that I can spend a turn casting a combat trick but still feel like I'm advancing my board state at the same time. That just feels very good to do. Oh, attack with Centurion, play nothing. I'll play the land pre-combat. I guess I shouldn't have in case I hit a land off Crescendo if I end up Crescendoing, but I don't know what they could have here that's going to make me want to cast Blazing Crescendo, because they just can't block anything on board. Have to be an instant speed way to untap a Centurion or play another creature. Yeah, I don't foresee myself casting Crescendo right now. Alright. So hit for that 2 damage. Now we drop Skitterfang, Gold Warden's Helm. They did anoint our 3/3 Menace, that's why we only hit for 2 there, if anybody's just listening. Alright, they play their 5th land. They have a Gulping Scrap Trap, but no poison counters or oil counters on anything, so it's just a 4/4, no proliferation going on. Okay, I can Chimney Rabble and have the mana up for Blazing Crescendo. Just gonna make a Chimney Rabble flying every turn right now to get through the Scrap Trap. Guess. It's kind of a weird game here. They've got a nice cluttered up board state that's hard to attack through, but they aren't doing much proactively. Alright, I'm going to trade Crescendo into their 4/4. Our Aspirant is going to die here, but we're drawing a card off Crescendo, so it kind of balances out. Into a 1/1. Aspirant trades for Scrap Trap. crescendo cycles into the Bardiche that we get to play next turn. Yeah, so now that we have that out of the way, I could attack with my 2-3 as well, and they'd have to sack the long legs to kill it with Centurion. Or they could double block now that they have Predation Steward. They could block with Steward and long legs. The 2-3 trades into the Steward. Yeah, it looks like just green-black good stuff. Just green-black value. Green-black mid-range. Whatever you want to call it. Whatever green-black not toxic is. Okay, there's a Basilica Shepherd, but we have to play the Bardiche this turn, or it is gone forever, so that is going to be the play. Actually don't want to cash in the flying right now. I'll offer the 2-2 Rebel as a trade. Probably just bounces off of long legs, but if they want to trade a creature off, they can. No reason to hold it up as a blocker, we have plenty. And if they attack us, that's going to be less blockers for them to hold up. Alright, I'll trade it for the Steward. Oh, I'm more than willing to trade it for Centurion. Oh, Whisper of the Dross, alright. Also a trade I am more than willing to make. Trade my 2-2 Rebel token into the Whisper of the Dross combat trick. Not an on-board trade, but one of my big level up moments a few years ago was just thinking to myself, if I traded my card for a card, then it's still okay. I used to get really, really unhappy when my creature would trade into a combat trick, but it's like that combat trick was always going to find a way to have one of their smaller creatures kill something bigger. So if you get rid of a combat trick at the cost of just like a 2-2, that's so much better than if later in the game it could potentially kill one of your 4-4s or 5-5s or something like that, or your 4-3. So, actually just happy with that outcome there. Necrogen Communion, so when the long legs dies it comes back, so they get 2 flying blocks off of it. Okay. Let's cash in here. This is a sorcery speed ability to give +2/+2 with Steward? Yes, it is. So we're going to cash in a counter on Skitterfang to attack for 4 with flying. They can chump block it or they can take 4, but now they can only block with long legs. So they're going to take the 4, and then we'll play another flyer. Really going to just push the issue on this copper long legs here. It is going to have to use the Necrogen Communion. Ooh. Annex Sentry. It's actually a tiny bit awkward here, because I definitely want to target the long legs, but they can just respond by sacking it to Proliferate, so that the Communion brings it back. There's no way to Annex Sentry and actually like fully kill the long legs. It's still just worth casting it here. Forcing the issue with the long legs, make them lose the Communion, but they're just going to scoop them up right there. I mean, they're at 11 life. We could even just exile the Steward or something to lower the number of blockers they have. Then they'd have 2 blockers total. If I attack with everybody, they could block the 4-3 with the long legs. Take 3, 4, 5, 6. Block there, 7, 8. Yeah, go down to like 3 life. So they're pretty over it. Writing's on the wall for them. We are going to get the first victory. We are now 1-0 as we head into Game 2. Alright, here we are in Game 2 with our all 3 mana cards, the deck. Gonna keep it. We've got a 3 mana card. We've got an Ossification for turn 2. If our opponent gets a nice aggressive card onto the board, we will ossify it. Prophetic Prism. Alright, that is not an aggressive card. So 0 punishment for having no turn 1 or turn 2 plays. We're definitely going to have at least one game today where we keep a hand like this and then our opponent goes like Evolving Adaptive into Barbed Batterfist and a red-green deck, and then we just die because they're attacking with a 2-2 and a 3-1 on turn 3. It's definitely going to happen, but luckily for us, things have been pretty chill for now in the early game. A welcome surprise with a slower deck. A slower aggro deck. We're still definitely aggro, but again, just 5 creatures at 2 or less mana. So very multicolored deck from our opponent. They're probably 5 colors playing Atraxa, I would guess. Like, we know they're playing blue. The only color we haven't seen is black. And the only reason you'd play this many colors is basically Atraxa. Like, Atraxa doesn't need red, but at the time where you've already built a 4-color deck, like, what's one more color? So I expect that's probably what's going on. Alright, let's get as aggressively as possible. Chimney Rabble should be solid here. We want to try to just beat them down before they can get to any particularly explosive plays, because they are in every color, which means that they got to draft every bomb rare that they saw. There are a lot of very powerful rares in the format, but it's a pretty aggressive deck where you do want to focus on just streamlined 2-color aggro decks. So a lot of very powerful cards can get passed later on the draft because people are just in other archetypes. So I expect their deck could definitely have, 3 to 6 just really strong rares in there that we might have to work our way through. Okay, probably going to ossify that Serum Core Chimera, but for now the Punisher can already get in. Even Blazing Crescendo to trade the Goblin token up into it, so we can attack both. If they don't block the Goblin, that means that they really want to keep that Chimera, which means they probably plan on getting enough oil counters on it to use it immediately, in which case we need to get rid of it. So let's just send in the squad. Yeah, no blocks. If they're going to no blocks me, I'm just going to exile the Serum Core Chimera. Pass the turn. Actually probably should have crescendoed on no blocks as well, just so I could use more of my mana there. Have another play set up for next turn off the exile. Alright, Barbed Batterfist. Fine little blocker. Punisher can get through that. Engraver, that is not fine. Could just Hazardous Blast them. I get to kill the Batterfist. Still get in with Punisher without them going for a decent double block. The double block is not good for me even if I crescendo, because I still only have 4 toughness. At least I kill both creatures. Could also just kill Engraver. That might be fine. Just get higher power on the board. Get more power on the board before I Hazardous Blast so I get the maximum amount of damage off of that card. Hazardous Blast is a card that can just make your combat math so simple where it's just like, what is their life total and what is the total power on my board? Or if they're at 13 life, then just if I ever have 13 power on board, I can just click this button and win the game. Yep. And so no blocks is good for me as well. So Shepherd puts a little bit more power on the board than Bardiche does. And I think I just want to make that number go big. Hazardous Blast, go burr. This way, next turn, I could Hazardous Blast Crescendo and just kill them. I guess I could do that with Bardiche as well. But this is 1 more point of damage. There's an Armored Scrap Gorger from our opponent. They definitely have a lot of mana fixing. But it's starting to seem like they didn't. Yeah, they did not draw any of their powerful plays. And they're now tapped out. So we are guaranteed to have the Hazardous Blast kill now. 9 damage on board, but we have a Blazing Crescendo in hand with the mana to cast it after the Hazardous Blast. So we'll be putting them to -2 and moving on to game 3 after that. Unless they have a really good 1 blue mana card. I guess it could be any color because they have Prophetic Prism. Alright, let's find out. They have an incredible 1 mana card. Has to be a 1 mana card that can kill a 3 toughness flyer. If it's a Hex Gold Slash, they can only kill a Might token with it, which is not enough to survive. And yeah, they just cannot survive that attack. We are now 2-0 as we head into game 3. Here we are for game 3, a little bit high on lands here. Close to a mulligan, but no cigar. We've still got a 2-drop, a great removal spell, and a Chimney Rabble to play on 4. So we are gonna keep again. Ooh, we drew into a turn 1 play? Alright, don't mind if I do. If I draw into the perfect curve, then we are just touched by the gods of Arena today in a good way. In a good way. Alright, Mandible Justiciar. I could just trade my Scamp up into that. That's honestly fine, because I don't have a lot of spells to get oil on the Scamp. And even if I did, the Scamp's just going to sit here dealing 1 damage to my opponent every turn. Probably just a lot more damage to kill their lifelinker immediately. Alright, Bladehold Warwhip. We can just ossify the token that gave them. Which seems fine by me. Even if they somehow have removal for ossification, they wouldn't get anything back. And if I didn't get rid of that token, then I wouldn't be able to attack in well for a long time. Nor would I be able to block well. So here's a Porcelain Zealot, which is still an okay card without any toxic creatures, but not that concerning. We've already got our opponent down to 13 here. They've got a single blocker, but it is their turn now, turn 5. Mirren Bardiche, that is a much bigger blocker. This Hazardous Blast could come out of nowhere for us. We'll have to see. Ooh, Furnace Strider as the draw. They can double block to kill it. Or I can go for a Crescendo attack. Crescendo would just give Rabble a 4th toughness. It would still trade into the 4/3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have exact lethal with Hazardous Blast in the future. I think I'm just going to hold off for now. If I hit a 6th mana and they tap out for whatever reason, we can just Hazardous Blast, Blaze, and Crescendo. Find another free victory off that. Probably not the most likely, but I don't love my attack options here. I guess trading Rabble into the 4/3 would not be that bad. Maybe we should have sent in the Chimney Rabble. I'm definitely going to take this hit so that we still have all of our power on the board to threaten lethal next turn. I will take 5, down to 15. Mandible Justiciar. That's it for now. They're holding 3 mana up. Okay, I can't kill them with Hazardous Blast, but I can kill their Justiciar before they get any life off of it and put them to like 3. Which is so tempting. But I was gonna say, if I play Chimney Rabble, if they don't like move a bunch of equipment to the lifelinker, I can still find the Hazardous Blast lethal on them next turn. I could also get just insanely greedy and just Crescendo pre-combat and hope to top deck a land. But that's hoping to top deck a land and hoping they have nothing to do with this 3 mana in terms of instant speed removal. I mean, there's no... I guess they could have Rebel Salvo. That would kill the Strider in response to a Crescendo. I really want to kill their lifelinker. I think I'm just gonna do it. See what they've got here. See what instant they're holding up. But we'll hit as hard as we can. I do take a lot of damage on the Crackback, right? Because they can buff the 4/3 to a 5/4 status and then put Double Strike on it. They hit for 10 with that and 2 with Zealot. That's still not lethal. And that would require 5 of their mana to move the Double Strike onto it. So if everything just happens here, I think I do attack with everybody. Charge of the Mites. Oh, so they can keep the Justiciar on the board. I see. So that they do gain life next turn? Oh, that was like the only thing I really wanted off the Hazardous Blast was killing the Justiciar. Wow, yeah, that's horrendous. I did not expect to see Charge the Mites in the red-white equipment deck. But I guess we'll get got. Yeah, I can't really find 2-turn lethal through a lifelinker well at all. So I guess we're just holding up the really good blocker then, getting the rest of the free damage in. We don't have a Volt Charge in our deck to find the final 3 damage, so no reason to put them to 3, especially because they're going to gain some life off Justiciar here. This way I at least get to immediately trade into Justiciar with the Strider. Doesn't feel phenomenal, but it gets the lifelink off of their board. And it would soak up all their mana to put the Bardiche onto the Justiciar and then buff it. Not all of their mana, but most of it. Yeah, I can't believe we didn't kill the Justiciar off that blast. That was insane. Alright. We're still in the lead. Still in the lead. We're doing alright. I could play Punisher and Crescendo this turn. That might be a little more exciting. Yeah, hold up the Crescendo in case of weirdness. If they do go for a double block here, we can kill both by playing Crescendo. Don't need to play Crescendo. I think I'm just gonna play Chimney Rabble without the haste. Without the haste bonus. Just a lot more mana efficient again. It gives me that opportunity to play Punisher plus Crescendo next turn. Volshock Splitter. Go to combat. They don't really get any attacks in anymore because they don't have a vigilant creature. They could go for it, but then they'll just die on the crackback when I Crescendo. I guess they go to 2 life if I Crescendo them on the crackback. Alright, fairly certain we're attacking with everybody. Seeing where Crescendo is best used. Alright, so Crescendo the Slinger here. Either I put them to 2 life or I kill the Zealot. Those are the options. I think I would rather kill the Zealot. Pick up a Swooping Lookout, great card. Another evasive threat. Now we're going to play 2 creatures that are kind of hard to block. And they're down to 5. Feels good. Flensing Raptor. And Duels to Deep Faith. Well, we found the Toxic cards. Their deck is definitely like an in-between Toxic and Equipment. Do I just have Lethal on board if I exile Raptor? Double block Punisher, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If they don't double block Punisher, they go block, take 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. We have Lethal if we just exile 1 creature. It doesn't even matter which one I exile. Oop. They just go block, take 5. That's the most damage that they can stop. Alright, well, decently lucky game for us. Their deck definitely did not pan out super well for them there. They just drew the wrong cards in the wrong order. Hit their great Toxic cards in the late game after they'd already had a Zealot not doing much, a Charge the Mites not doing much. And, yeah, we just kind of get there with our more more consistent deck, just kind of playing dudes and attacking, as you do. We are now 3-0 as we head into game 4. Alright, here we are in game 4, and it's the best curve we've had so far. 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting with Gauntlet, let's go. Elementary school gameplay. I'm very excited about this hand. Excuse me. Oh, I am immediately far less excited about my hand, and I live in fear of turn 1 Evolving Adaptive. The thing is absurd. Yep, there's the Glistener Seer to get another counter on it. I don't think I'm going to use any Skitterfang counters if I play it pre-combat here. I'll just attack with the 3-1. They are not willing to trade the Evolving Adaptive into a 3-1, which means that they are expecting to make that thing massive so fast. Are they just going to curve into a Contagious Vorak here, make it a 3-3, and then Proliferate and make it a 4-4 immediately? Carnivorous Canopy. Well, that was a real good main deck Canopy there. Buffs the Adaptive, clears out my Skitterfang. Alright, I definitely have a shot here, but I'm not very happy with how things have gone thus far. Chimney Rabble could really change that around. We're attacking for 6 now. They have no good blocks for the 3-3s. We definitely want to hit one of our ossifications, though, otherwise this Adaptive is still just on the track to taking over the game. Oh my god. Evolving Adaptive number 2. And just another Proliferate card, I'm assuming. Yep, it's a Proliferate card and a removal spell. Evolving Adaptive back at it again. Hitting for 4 now. Down to 13. Dang, we missed our 5th land drop to curve out up to 5. I do get to play Lookout and Punisher this turn, which is nice. They'll get to just slam a bunch of creatures on the table. Alright, they are going to trade this Adaptive into our token. Play a Lookout, play a Punisher. We are crossing our fingers and looking for ossification. Otherwise, we're just going to die to a 1-drop creature. Evolving Adaptive just going to go all the way here. Oh, they're just going to pass, hold it up as a blocker? Alright. We take those. I don't have the mana to play one of these cards and put an equipment onto the Swooping Lookout. I don't like attacking into their 4-4 with 4 open mana here. With my 4-5 or my 3-3 Menace for that matter, because they can double block with the Seer and the Adaptive. Any combat trick on the Glistener Seer makes it so I don't kill any of their creatures. I still would kill the combat trick, get that out of their hand. But I actually don't even have a good onboard attack for Punisher. Because they just double block, I traded into the Seer and died to the Adaptive. I think I'm just attacking with the Swooping Lookout here. The sad part is I really wish I could put an equipment on it this turn, but I can't. Because there's no way that it's better to put an equipment on it right now than it is to play a 5-drop. We gotta play one of these. I think I'm actually going to play the Bardiche, because then I have the opportunity to put both the Bardiche and the Batterfist onto the Lookout, potentially. Okay, not if they counter it. But then we still have the Furnace Strider for like a surprise additional attacker that they might not do the math around. Alright, Augury, Proliferate on the Adaptive again. Now Copper Longlegs to Proliferate. I wonder how many copies of Evolving Adaptive they have. Because if you recontextualize this game and just look back on it and imagine that the only thing that's different is that our opponent plays any other just, 2-mana 2/2 or something instead of evolving adaptives this game, like they would have done pretty much nothing. Like it's entirely the evolving adaptive and the synergy pieces to work with it. Without the adaptive, it's just a bunch of dirtling around here, so I'm wondering how many they have here to get that stuff rolling. This is the best I've ever seen the green-blue Proliferate be, but it does feel like an archetype you need to have tons of the adaptive style payoffs for. I mean, I like Blazing Crescendo, but it doesn't make combat too much better here. We definitely can't attack with the Furnace Strider, so it's not that exciting. Probably just Batter Fist the Lookout and get in for whatever damage I can. Gonna have to Crescendo to beat the long legs to get it out of the way for Lookout to hit in the future. So they sack the long legs here, buff the adaptive, buff the seer. We get to draw a card, see what that is, and then we start hitting for a couple damage a turn. There's just another land. Yep, pass turn. Again, luckily doesn't feel like they can attack us too much because they have to be really worried about the crackback, but that adaptive is all the way up to a 6/6 body. Means it kills us in 2 attacks if they proliferate one more time this game. They just hit us once, then next time they hit us they need to proliferate before they do it, but they would kill us in 2 swings. So here's Prophetic Prism to draw a card, and now they have a man of any color. If they have any splash cards, ooh, that's really not what we want to see. Spell Dancer are going to give them an unblockable threat to chip at us here. Another land for us. So we'll just start hitting for 2 a turn. They're going to start hitting for 2 a turn. Difference is they get to scry their top cards around. Yep, I just don't have attacks into a 6/6 adaptive. With even a gigantic 5/4 if I put a Batter Fist on it. Hit for a couple damage with the Swooping Lookout, play the Furnace Strider. Move the Batter Fist. There's nothing in green-blue to give something -1/-1 though, so I don't think there's a huge reason to move this around right now. Now just pass the turn. Scry to the bottom again from our opponent. Drop an Oil Gorger Troll. That's really good here. That gives them an extra 2 turns because we're hitting for 2 damage a turn, which means they're on a 4-turn clock right now. They go up to 11, and now they're on a 6-turn clock, and they draw a card. Oil Gorger Troll actually does a mountain of work here, putting them into the lead. Which I think we're still comparable, but now they have another card in hand as well. They're probably favored here. Oh, speaking of being favored, Bladehold War Whip can change that around. Can War Whip up a Furnace Strider or a Furnace Punisher or a Swooping Lookout. It does cost 5 mana to move this around, and I only have 7 total, so 3 to play it, 5 to move would be 8 mana. So I can't move it around the turn I play it regardless, so we'll just play it post-combat. Drop the Bladehold War Whip. Oh, I don't have double white either, so even if I had 20 lands, I'd need 2 planes to move the whip the turn I play it. Alright, pass the turn. Glistener Seer still putting in its work here, scrying out of any land draws. They scry to the bottom again. Watchful Blister Zoa is the play. That is another huge one. Now we can't get in for damage at all anymore. We gotta hit a Hazardous Blast off the top pretty much to have a shot. But I guess I can still War Whip the Strider, but the Swooping Lookout no longer matters at all. Another Batter Fist. Well, I can move the Batter Fists for only 0 mana with a War Whip on the board. So, we play a Batter Fist. Put both onto the Strider for free. That makes it a 6-power creature. If we have a 6-power Double Striker, they can't kill it with just the Adaptive. I don't know if they can kill it at all. They block with the whole board, they can, right? Because I can first strike the Adaptive and then trade into Blister Zoa, but like Blister Zoa plus Troll would kill it. This is definitely our best play, I can tell you that much. They probably just chump with Glistener Seer. At this point, it's on its last oil counter anyway. But yeah, if they want to kill this, they have to block with like Blister Zoa plus Troll or Adaptive plus Troll. Something like that. Yes, they'll just get the chump in with the Glistener Seer. Get their final scry off of it. Scry to the bottom. Pass the turn. If they attack too hard, we might be able to go wide for lethal now that they're down to 9. So they attack with both of these. If they have a combat trick, we just die, but I think I just accept that. If they have Titanic Growth, we're dead. If they don't have any more creatures to play, they block Furnace Strider and a 2/2 take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That could be lethal if I put both... Well, I can't put both Batter Fists on Lookout. If I put a Batter Fist and Double Strike onto Lookout, we kill them by attacking all if they don't have another creature. Alright, I mean, show me the Titanic Growth. No Titanic Growth, you have another creature at least. Yes, they have an Armored Scrap Gorger. So I can put a Batter Fist and Double Strike onto Lookout. Wow, that's actually kind of insane. 18 cards deep, 1 plains. Shepherd is the draw. Okay, so 4 guaranteed damage in the sky with Lookout. They block Strider and 2 2/2s. They go down to 1? Oh, that is so rough. There's gotta be a way. I mean, if there isn't a way, I'm just dead. So let's see, let's really make sure. We definitely have to go Double Strike and Batter Fist onto Lookout. But now it's 4 damage guaranteed in the sky. We move this Batter Fist to... Oh, do I put it on Furnace Punisher? Because then they go... Block Strider. Block 2/2, block a 2/2, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 exactly. Or they go block Furnace Strider, double block Punisher, in which case they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 exactly. I think that's how we do it. If they have nothing in hand, this is exact lethal, no matter how they block. Because they can block that, and then they can block both the 2/2s, or they can double block Punisher. Either way, 5 damage gets through on the ground, and 4 damage in the sky. Oh my god, they had nothing. Alright, wow, that was a great match. That was a great game. That was super close the whole way. I was living in fear from turn 1. That is the strongest blue-green Proliferate deck I think I've ran up against yet, and it was not functioning on the infect side of things. It was blue-green oil, but just having 2 adaptives there early in the game really consistently was really powerful. So I really want to see their deck list here because it played really, really well. Really well. But again, it's very similar to like that red-white toxic deck that we ran up against, where it really had to hit its cards in the right order. Like if they didn't have adaptives, the game would have been just over very early because all these experimental augury style, long leg style things wouldn't have been really accomplishing much. It would just been, you know, spinning their wheels for not much to be accomplished. But they have more than just the adaptives. Like their deck is definitely good. There's just some risk involved for sure. Like if you play a non-creature spell with the Spell Dancer on board, then when you're spinning all your Proliferate wheels, you're just making sure you can always double up your instants and sorceries. That's pretty powerful. They've got the Scrap Gorger ramping up, the Oil Gorger Troll gaining life, drawing a card. Very sweet deck from our opponent here. And a very close match. We just barely get that victory there. Making us 4-0 and leveling us up to the Mythic ranks. So very nice game, very nice draft overall. 4-0 starting it off as we head into round number 5. All right, here we are for game 5 on the play. Turn 2 Slinger, turn 3 Bladehold Warwhip, turn 4 Chimney Rabble. Let's go. Just gonna be racing it out here. Really happy with this opening hand. Our opponent is gonna start with a Bilious Skulldweller though, quite a concerning card to see. I'm just going to trade a Slinger into that if they attack in. I guess I will have a first striking creature that can kill that before it deals damage, but I'm going to want to be attacking with this where I won't be holding it up as a blocker. Ew. Skulldweller into Vran, so if I trade into the Skulldweller, Vran is going to drain me for 2 life. I like the trade less, but I still like staying uncorrupted and trading a 2/2 into the Double Striker that would end up killing a bigger creature later if I don't get it off the board. So I'm still taking that trade there. So Vran, of course, just makes it so we lose 2 and they gain 2 every time another one of their creatures dies. All right, we didn't hit the 4th land here, so we can't play a Chimney Rabble, but I can play Scamp plus Ossification or Scamp plus Crescendo. Definitely just play a Scamp. Not willing to trade a Scamp Crescendo into any of these. So we'll just send in with the War Whip. Do I want to just hit them for 10 and draw a card, see if I hit my land? I'm a greedy gust today. We're gonna just hit them for 10 damage. And we did hit the land. Let's go. Absolutely worth it. 2 mana, deal 6 damage to your opponent, draw a card. Seems like a pretty good rate. Seems like a pretty good rate, even if they have some life gain on the board like Ran, Executioner, Thane. Also pretty happy we ended up killing that Skulldweller because they do have a Bone Picker Scourge that really wants us to be corrupted. And they've got no ways to put poison counters on us on the board. Alright, we'll take our 2 flying damage. We'll take our 4 damage all around. I am more than willing to try to outrace our opponent. We just halved their life total. I guess not quite, because they did gain some life from Vran. But we took them from 22 to 12, so that was nice. Archfiend of the Dross. Ooh, do I have an ossification with your name on it? Yeah, I can't break through that Archfiend without just ossifying here, which means I'm not playing any creatures this turn, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. We kind of have to deal with that at 14 life here, especially with a Vran on board to drain us for life as well. Vran just makes it so whenever one of their creatures dies, we lose 2 life, they gain 2 life. With the Archfiend, whenever one of our creatures dies, we lose 2 life. There's just way too many ways to lose life there to think we can outrace the Archfiend. To where it'll end up killing them, or to where we like try to play Rabbles and get around it or anything. We just have to immediately pull the trigger on that ossification. So our opponent's down to 6 now. But they are still getting aggressive here. Send an attack with Vran and Scourge. Play a Doom Mover. Put a Plains on top and play a Blightbelly Rat. So they have 2 creatures on board. Vran triggers once per turn, right? Yes. So Vran can drain us for 2, but that's it. So if I play Chimney Rabble and I attack with the Double Striker and the Chimney Rabble, they could double block Chimney Rabble I'd lose 2, they'd gain 2, but they'd take 4. Or they could just go chump chump, in which case I keep all my creatures. They take no damage. But I lose 2 and they gain 2. I think it's just Chimney Rabble into another Chimney Rabble next turn, honestly. But this Vran is giving them a legitimate chance of outracing us. No way I could afford to ossify Vran over ossifying the Archfiend, though. Okay, so I mean, Vran's still only going to trigger once. This is a trade. They take 3, but they gain 2, so they'll be at 5. Scamp makes them at basically 4. Yep. Could proliferate an oil counter onto my Sawblade Scamp if they want to be kind. But they don't. No oil for my Scamp. So they play the Plains. Let's see what their black-white card is in hand, or just their white card in general that they needed that for. Alright, still coming in with the Scourge. Makes a lot of sense. Down to 6. Stinging Hive Master. And Pestilent Siphoners. They didn't have a white card in hand. They just needed to make sure if they drew one they could play it. Well, I mean, it kind of just looks like we're dying to Flyers plus Vran here, which is pretty sad. But who knows? We'll see what we draw into. Go to tap Scamp. Hit a Mountain. Does not change anything here. Only take 3 damage in the sky next turn. I don't have any good attacks on board. Yeah, I guess I just need to top deck Hazardous Blast again. That's my out. I guess if I play Bardiche, I do get another oil counter on Scamp, which is nice. So we'll go for that. Plus Chimney Rabble. We leave that Chimney Rabble surprise for next turn. If I can go wide enough to find lethal in an attack, we can kill them before Vran technically triggers. So it's possible. If they drew nothing this turn and they attack with both Flyers, then we kill them on the crackback. Because they can block my 4-3 and my 3-3, but I can hit them then with the second Chimney Rabble and 2 1/1s. Hit them for 5 before Vran's trigger resolves, so before they gain any life. So if they just hit a land off the top, we win the game if they attack with both Flyers. Probably if they attack with just 1 Flyer even, right? Because they could have 3 blockers up where they could block our 4-3 and both of our Chimney Rabbles, but they still take 2 from Scamp and a 1/1. I guess not quite lethal if they hold one of the Flyers back. Yeah, if they attack with both and they don't have anything, then we have a lethal crackback. And obviously, I don't really have any choices on blocks here. We just have to take it. No Flyers of our own, no instant speed interaction right now. I actually don't think I've drawn my Hazardous Blast once today so far, unfortunately. Or not Hazardous Blast, no, we drew that a lot. What is the other one? Hexgold Slash. Thinking of the other incredible red card of the format. Oh, they did draw something. Maybe? I mean, it would have to be at this point. They wouldn't be thinking this long if they didn't have something in hand here. This is Annihilating Glare. So whatever happens here, our outs are still... Hazardous Blast can still win. I don't think Hexgold Slash is going to save us at this point if they play like another creature here, or if they play a removal spell here. Yeah. So Hazardous Blast kills them. Hexgold Slash, we could kill Vran. And they only have 2 blockers up. Scamp can keep shooting them. They could crack back for 3. I don't know, we'd have to see. If we draw Hexgold Slash, I'll think about it. I'll think what we do with that, but that might be okay. I don't know if it wins us the game immediately, but it'll give us another turn. Basilica Shepherd is similarly okay, where if they miss on their next draw, I think we're almost guaranteed lethal next turn, because our board state is going to be so wide, and it's going to stop them from getting great attacks in with the flyers. We'll still take just as much damage, because when I block the Scourge and kill it, they'll drain me for 2. But I guess it makes it so if they don't have a combat trick or something, then they just can't afford to attack with any of their flyers, because I could just take the 3 damage and then attack them for 3 in the sky on the crackback. So it's another turn where if they miss on just 1 draw here, they're just dead. They just hit a 6th land. Or just like any creature on the ground would not be the greatest for them. Yeah, I think even if it's like a 5-mana 4/4 or something like that, I think that wouldn't be the greatest for them. Because we could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attacking creatures against 5 blockers. So 2 creatures would be guaranteed to get in, put them to 1. They send in the Stinging Hive Master. I think we have to hope they have nothing. So on board, if they have nothing, we already have a lethal crackback because we have 6 creatures against 3 blockers, which means 3 creatures get in and deals 3. So I think we're just hoping they just have a follow-up creature to play here. If they just have a combat trick and they're trying to kill us with that, could have just attacked with anything here. Pretty much. If they play another creature that's 4 blockers against 7 attackers after I play Chimney Rabble. So I can't afford to chump block here if I want to get lethal against them playing another creature, because then I'll only have 6 attackers. Yeah, I think I need to just take it. Down to 1. Let's see. I just hit another land, so we'll play the Chimney Rabble. Actually have the mana to put a Bardiche on something. I guess we put it on a... put it on a 1/1. Send in everybody. If they don't have anything, they're dead. Because they die before Vran's abilities will resolve to gain them any life. Alright. Very close game again. Very, very close game. Ended at 1 life there against that Vran. Vran put in a lot of work for sure, but we are going to be 5-0 now as we head into game number 6. Here we are for game 6. We've got a Swooping Lookout turn 1, a Furnace Punisher turn 3, and a Hazardous Blast to potentially end the game. We just need to find some more plays for the middle of the game, but that is what all of our draw steps are for. Happy with how the game looks to start out, and how it looks to finish. So we slam down our turn 1 Swooping Lookout, see what our opponent's up to here. They're going to play a Forest into a Rustvine Cultivator. Pass the turn. Hit a land off the top, hit them for 1, pass the turn. See what they've got. What's going on with Jetmir's eyes? I never noticed Jetmir has 2 different colored eyes there before. Alright, Rustvine Cultivator into Predation Steward from the green-red deck there, so definitely a pretty committed green-red oil deck. Could do some pretty big stuff. Let's just play our biggest menace creature here. Drop a Furnace Punisher. But hit them for 1 with the Swooping Lookout first. Ideally, we just draw a bunch of nonsense creatures and eventually get to a board state that has more power on board than they have life. And that's the plan, and Swooping Lookout can help us get there by just constantly chipping at them for 1, slowly but surely reducing that life total. Alright, they take the 1 damage, we drop down the Furnace Punisher and pass the turn. So they've oiled up the Cultivator. They can get some greasy mana going off of that. Alright, they're going to attack with a Predation Steward. I'm not going to make any blocks here. I have no idea on Earth what they are threatening here. Could be Titanic Growth, could be Free from Flesh, anything like that, but I don't want to trade Furnace Punisher into any trick in the book. Now I have a Blazing Crescendo, and they only have 3 power on the board, so even if they double block the Punisher, I can Blazing Crescendo and win that fight. So we'll send in with both, and even if we just chip in for damage with all of those, that's going to be a good deal for us, because we're just trying to chip them down enough for Hazardous Blast to find lethal later in the game. So very happy to attack all here. Alright, they are going to take the 4 damage, and we'll play a Bladegraft Aspirant and pass the turn. Alright, they're going to get a nice big Koldotha Cackler attack in, hit us for 4, we're down to 14. Go for a 5 mana play off their Rustvine Cultivator. Yep, that looks to be the thing. Resistance Sky Warden. Well, so much for Swooping Lookout here. That is not ideal. Guess I can send in both of my Menace creatures, and whichever one they block I can buff with a Crescendo at least. We really need to hit another red source though. With 3 red cards in hand, we can only play 1 spell this turn because we only have 1 mountain. Which is not good. Maybe I attack with everybody because it's probably just better for them to kill one of my Menace creatures than my Swooping Lookout. And then if I attack with everybody and they just block Swooping Lookout, then we can just hit for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 off of Punisher Aspirant here using Blazing Crescendo. And then if I can hit another red source, I could play Slinger and threaten potential lethal later. Yeah, I'm going to attack all still. They can kill the Lookout or they can kill one of my Menace creatures. Those are their 2 options. They're going to go for the kill on the Lookout, so I'm going to Crescendo, I think. When I hit them to 9, then I play a Slinger. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage on board. If I can Crescendo plus Blast next turn, that's lethal. It's going to be lethal either way if I hit a mountain here. But I guess if I don't, then I just hit them for... hit them for 5, they're down to 9. If I play Crescendo and I don't hit a mountain, then I hit them for 8? 3 plus 5. Yeah, I hit them for 8, so they're down to 6. Then next turn I only have 5 damage on board. Yeah, I think I just play the Slinger right now. And then just hope for a mountain off the top, so there's no risk to the Crescendo trying to hit a mountain. We just go Crescendo Blast. Got him. then I guess the problem is even if I don't hit a mountain, I'm still probably just going to play Crescendo and try to blast, because if they get another turn, they're just going to kill me. Right, because I'm already taking like a million. 10, 11, 12, 13. I die to any red combat trick. I kind of die to any red combat trick no matter what, because I can't block Skywarden. If I block Cackler, they still trample over, so what, I block like that. I only do 8 on the crackback if I lose the Slinger, so I just need them to not have a trick here, but they definitely do. They just play Free from Flesh or Crescendo and I'm dead. Because all I can do is stop 2 damage no matter where I block, and then I still take 10 plus 1 is 11. Crescendo is plus 3. It's 14 and I'm dead. If they have Free from Flesh, then technically blocking here, I'll take 10, 11, 12, 13. I'll go to 1 life. I'll technically still be alive, but I won't have any way to win that game because I won't have enough damage on board to kill them on the crackback. So my literal only chance here is if they don't have a combat trick, which means that I don't block. Or a Volt Charge. Volt Charge also kills me. But Volt Charge would also stop me from hitting for lethal, because they could just kill one of my creatures in response, so... Alright, GG. 5-1 it is. Not a lot we could do there. I think I played that out as best as I could, because that was... definitely our best shot there, was just trying to find that quick free victory off the Hazardous Blast there, because without that, they were going to outvalue us just hardcore over the long game just by being in that red-green deck, especially with a sack on board at that point. They were also going to outrace us naturally. So I think just those really aggressive lines like cracking the Swooping Lookout to hit in for damage, that was playing as best as we could there. And then we were just hoping they didn't have the combat trick or the Volt Charge there. And then we potentially... I mean, if they didn't have the Volt Charge there, if they didn't have anything else, then we would have just killed them without Hazardous Blast. But even if they had like a follow-up creature or something, if we hit a mountain off the top or a mountain off Crescendo, then we would be able to go Crescendo into Hazardous Blast, win no matter what. So that was the goal. I think it was the correct line, the correct way to be aiming there that game. But the cards did not fall together for us. We just fell a little bit short. They had a little too much going on early game. So 5-1 as we head into round 7. It is worth noting, would have died to Volt Charge no matter how I blocked as well. But again, that's one of those things where you really need to think about it and play to your outs, where it's like, yes, if they have Free from Flesh there, I can survive one more turn by blocking, but to what purpose? If I survive that extra turn by doing the Free from Flesh block, I have no cards in my deck that are going to turn that game around and win me the game from that point anyway. So Free from Flesh is already a death sentence, even if it technically only puts me to 1 life. If I'm blocking there and sacrificing my creature and then they don't have Free from Flesh, I don't have any shot at victory either way, whether they do or don't have it. So that's just another game where we need to be thinking, what is the only way that this game potentially finds us a win, and playing to that out, even if it isn't like the autopilot best play of like, well, they most likely have something here, so I should definitely block. You know, in a vacuum, that's like the best kind of play, but thinking to the future, I liked our line there. This is one of our best hands again. Really good curve. Lookout into Batterfist into Punisher. Pretty absurd. We're just going to go for it here. Opponent starts with a tap land, the Hunter Maze, the green tap land they can sacrifice to draw a card later in the game. Followed up with a Razor Verge Thicket, that is the opposite of the Hunter Maze, that's a fast land. Comes into play untapped during the early game. They drop a Duelist of Deep Faith. I'm going to offer the trade for the 3-1 because it's not going to block it at all because of its first strike. They're just going to take all the damage. Then I'm going to play a 3-3 Menace. They're not going to attack in unless they have a combat trick here or a removal spell. So this 3-3 does a lot of work. Plus, both their lands are non-basic. I completely forgot about that. So Furnace Punisher actually just shoots them for 2. And it's going to shoot them for 2 again next turn, because they have to have 2 or more basic lands. Oh my god. I think that's the first time I've actually had Furnace Punisher trigger, and it's going to be really rude to our opponent here. It's going to shoot them for 2 more damage next turn. That is actually just nuts. That's a good enough card here to where I just want to ossify the Stalker so I can keep hitting with the Punisher without them threatening a double block on it. I guess I'll hit the Duelist because the first strike is more annoying. But yeah, I attack with everybody here. If they just take it all, they pretty much have to trade with my Rebel. Because if they take it all, they're going to take 7 damage, then 2 more from Punisher. Alright, we've got extra mana, so we can put this Batterfist on the lookout now. And then pass the turn, and here we go. Because we went ahead and got a creature out of the way so that the Punisher sticks around, it's going to do another 2 damage. They're down to 7 now. There is the second basic land from them. But they're down to 7 life, facing a 3/3 Menace and a 2/1 Flying Vigilance. That was disgusting. That was a very unearned victory there. That was Furnace Punisher's just flavor text. Absolutely demolishing our opponent. Really punishing them for those non-basic lands. Not something you see very often in this format, but wow, when it comes into play, that card goes from good to absurd. A 3 mana 3/3 Menace that deals 2 to your opponent during their upkeep every turn. Wild. That game ended so fast. Blink and you miss it. Heading into round number 8 now, 6-1. Alright, here we are on the play for game 8. Barbed Batterfist on turn 2, Bladehold Warwhip turn 3. Seems phenomenal. We can make a 3-power double striker to start attacking with on turn 4, so that's probably what we're going to do. If my opponent plays a bunch of non-basics, I guess I'll play the Furnace Punisher instead of the Warwhip now that we saw that in action, but looks like they have not chosen to do that. Attack with the 3/1, see if we trade off. If we don't, they'll need a removal spell for the Warwhip to get in. Alright, so we hit for 3, we play the Warwhip. They need a removal spell to kill this thing to get in. I'm not going to move the Batterfist over, even though I could, because Warwhip makes that equip ability free. The reason I'm not going to move it over is in case they are playing black and they have the Whisper that draws for -1/-1. But just green for now. They have Ruthless Predation instead. Kill my blocker, hit me for 2 poison. Not ideal, but we've got decent follow-up plays, so we're fine. Still don't think I want to ossify. If I hit a land, I would have played Barbed Batterfist plus Ossification, but we're early enough in the game here where I still want to be setting up creatures. So I'm actually going to play a Furnace Punisher here, and then pass. Yeah, whenever I hit a land, we're almost definitely Batterfist plus Ossification for the turn. Alright, let's get Corrupted, go to 4 poison. Not a lot of super scary Corrupted cards in green. Yeah, green-red, they're just playing this as a 2 mana 3/1. Alright. Very glad I did not trade my creatures off aggressively there. Not very glad to hit another Ossification here. I mean, it's a strong card, but land number 4 is looking really valuable. I just attack in with both for 6, and that's pretty reasonable. Then we play a Gold Warden's Helm, which is a fine blocker. Yeah, we probably outrace them a bit here, especially, again, if we hit land number 4. We definitely outrace them. So here's Gold Warden's Helm, likely to trade off into the Stalker, but I suppose if I move the Batterfist, because it's free to do, I could trade into the Cackler instead if I want, so that just leaves my options a little more open. But we're probably blocking here. They have 5 mana up. Well, if they just tap out for Furnace Strider, if they had Furnace Strider, they probably would have already played it, but we have Lethal on board, so they wouldn't have attacked with it. Yeah, if it's a Furnace Strider post-combat, something like that, a 5 mana creature, then we just ossify it and kill them on the crackback. Which makes me tempted to not trade here. But if I don't trade, I'm taking 5 and going to 8. That's not horrific. Yeah, I'll actually just not block. They have like 2 Titanic growths. This goes from 5 damage to 13? Not quite. Actually, yeah, it would be. It would have been exactly 13. So they play 1 Titanic growth. We have lethal on board, but this definitely means they have a instant speed removal spell, Volt Charge or something. I cannot stress enough how much we would have had this game in the bag if we just hit a 4th land at any point. We've had such safe lines here. At 4 life now. Really feels like I have to hold up blocks, so I almost feel like just attack with 2 creatures, play a Batter Fist. The problem is if I attack with everybody and they have Volt Charge, they kill one of my creatures, then kill me on the crackback. If I attack with 2 creatures and they have Volt Charge, I play another blocker, they kill one of my blockers, attack with 2 creatures on the crackback. If they have any pump spell, we're dead. Like, if they have Volt Charge, we're kind of screwed no matter what. Unless I attack with 1 creature, then I have 2 blockers for their 2 creatures, I'll have 3 blockers, but then they can just shoot the 1 creature that I'm attacking with. Really kind of feels like Volt Charge just gets me no matter what, but I guess suiting up the Punisher attacking with just that is the best play, unless it's Hex Gold Slash. But that kind of plays the same, where if I get fully aggressive here, they still stop me from hitting for lethal, then kill me on the crackback. Or if I attack with 2 creatures, they still kill the one that I hold up. Okay, so it is the Volt Charge. I think this was the best line against Volt Charge, 100%. It's probably safer to ossify the Trampler than it is to play a 3rd blocker, honestly. I just really wish I hit a 4th land this game. That would have made things so much easier. Green Sun's Twilight. That's probably not good for us. Oh, they only hit an Ichorspit Basilisk. Alright. Ichorspit Basilisk plus land. That's fine. We're okay against that. Okay, I have to trade off into that. What could they have? For a single red mana, they could have +2/+2. That would make it a 5 power. It's 5 toughness, but we'd still kill it. Don't kill it if I single block against +2/+2. Okay, there's the 4th land, and now I do still feel pretty safe. I guess I die to a Furnace Strider if I don't hold up a blocker. So let's ossify the Basilisk. Play a Batter Fist so I have a blocker, attack for 3. Yeah, that pretty much locks it in, right? Because here I exile the Basilisk. I attack them for 3. They go down to 5. Play a Barb Batter Fist. If they play a Furnace Strider, I have a chump blocker. If they play any creatures, I just Hazard's Blast and kill them next turn. I just attack for 6. No blocks allowed. I think Hazard's Blast is safer. I think it's safer. I don't know. I mean, either is fine. Alright. We do get there in the end. A lot sketchier than it needed to be. Again, that 4th land was so pivotal. Once we hit that 4th land there, even after missing on it for so long, being able to, again, do the ossification plus Batter Fist was super, super nice. So we are going to get a nice, clean 7-1 today. We only lost 1 match. 1 game of Magic. Really good stuff from this red-white equipment deck. I think this deck had some really, really good things going for it. Some flaws with the curve, for sure. Let me just sort it to where the curve doesn't look as bad. We got to put those 4 Mirrodin equipment up there with our creatures. We didn't draw Hex Gold Slash once. That was one of our big flaws. Crescendo did put in a lot of work. Actually was a pretty big overperformer. but I've had it underperform in the past. There were a lot of awkward positions with the Crescendo today as well. Most of the value from Crescendo today was just using it as damage and drawing a card. Like when we used it on the War Whip to just hit them for 10 and then draw a card. But it was really nice in those positions. Shepherd was a little bit of an underperformer. We won a game because it made our board really large, but we also got pretty close to losing a game because we top decked it with 1 planes with like 18 cards deep or something. But I think that's less of Basilica Shepherd's problem and more of just our mana base not being kind to us that game. Overall, everything worked pretty much as well as I thought it would. I've played these red-white equipment decks a lot. They're pretty much my favorite archetype in the format. Skitterfang was phenomenal, Batterfist were phenomenal, Bladehold Warwhip was phenomenal, everything was phenomenal, except like Scamp was kind of filler. Crescendo was a little awkward at times, but pretty great at others. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory stuff. Hazardous Blast was kind of an overperformer today. We were always kind of wanting to draw that. In a lot of those games, we were like, Hazardous Blast would just win. But it did have the same issue of like sometimes we had it in our opening hand, like against that red-green deck that beat us with the Volt Charge in the end. Like we had it in our opening hand there, and then just like never got to play it. But I don't think that's really like Hazardous Blast's problem, and more just that they outraced us a little bit. Because Hazardous Blast was also still our win condition that game. It was still our goal. So even if we didn't technically ever get to casting it, it was still giving us a plan, giving us a way to try to win that game that we wouldn't have had otherwise. If this was in that game, if instead of having Hazardous Blast in our hand, we just had another 3 mana 2/3 Gold Warden's Helm or something, we would have just lost even more handedly. So even in like the game that it wasn't great, it was pretty great. So I guess Hazardous Blast for the overperformer. A card that I do still think is pretty overrated. I still think like 1, maybe 2 copies. And you don't have to pick it up highly because it goes relatively late, at least in my experience. Whereas I feel like it's just really, really popular. It's talked about a lot in the like competitive limited community, so I think it's a little over-discussed, but still a great card overall. But yeah, did a lot of great work today, so we will definitely give it that. So 7-1, let's claim our prize. 2,200 gems and 6 packs of Phyrexia all will be won. We are in the money today. Excellent draft. Had a great day of playing Magic, but that is going to end today's video. That does end today's video, but if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you more of these videos in your recommended feeds. If you're interested in catching me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.